welcome to Blancpain GT Series Asia. My name is Claire Jedrick and we're here for round 7 and 8 here at Fuji Speedway. And what a momentous occasion it is. Fuji-san is bearing down on us. I'm sure the drivers are going to have a cracking time. Right now we're going to talk to the voice and race commentator Bruce Jones. Bruce, we've got 33 cars on grid. It's a full grid. What do you think is going to go down this weekend?
Well, I think almost all the action is going to be into turn one. Having watched her support races here, the long straight into a tightening right-hander that drops down the hill, that's where the overtaking is going to take place. But what I absolutely love is we've got 5 makes of car in the top 5 positions, but two of the front runners, including the championship leader, have got pit stop penalties. So I think the car starting second has a massive opportunity. It's the red 27 Ferrari from Hub Auto Corso, no extra time in their pit stops. So if John O'Lester on his debut keeps his nose clean, then when he hands over to Nick Foster, the Australian ought to go in the lead of the race. Who knows if he'll win? Always there are twists and turns, but it's about keeping it clean for the 27 Ferrari.
Tell you what, that last turn, it's an off-camber corner. Is that going to throw appeal onto the circuit for new drivers to this circuit?
I think you might have rumbled a few of them. Circuit experience is so important. Have a lot of Japanese drivers. They won't be the ones making mistakes. But it's a very critical corner. If you get your line wrong there, you run wide and you can't put the throttle down. Therefore, you lose speed the whole way down to the first corner where you can do the overtaking. So it's a massively important corner for all the drivers.
Well, thank you very much, Bruce, there for that rundown. Right now, we're going to throw to the highlights of rounds 5 and 6 at Suzuka Circuit.
31 cars coming out to play, the biggest grid in the second championship. It looks as though it was absolutely even down to the first corner. Martin Rumpel, the Audi on the inside, Dennis Linton, his Lamborghini on the outside, who clearly went around the outside. You'd have thought Martin Rumpel would have been able to hang on, but that Lamborghini braked so late, swept around the corner on the outside, able to tuck into the front at turn 2, and then gradually started edging clear over the opening laps. But then Martin Rumpel came on strong and started coming back onto his tail. It got down to a fraction of a second. The 81 BMW leading the way, but I think there'd been a little setback for the 666 Mercedes. It fell to 4th in the GT4 class before it started its charge. While most of the teams were nice and tidy with their pit stops. And now here's the messy pit stop for the race leader. The Team EBI Porsche pulled out in front of it, and then braked slightly later. So it was Frankie Chen Kong Fu who came out in the lead of the race, and he's been chased by Sandy Stuvik. Stuvik got very close indeed, challenged around the outside, but it wasn't to work. And after that, Frankie Chen Kong Fu got his head down. In the GT4 class, it was 81 BMW all the way, with Gt4 bringing it home. He got ahead of the 666 Mercedes, or it was in the first into the race, and he simply stayed there. For Frankie Chen Kong Fu, as he swept through the last corner for the final time, you can see the checkered flag. He backed off 0.8 of a second between first and second. 2 very happy crews. It was Ferraris on the front row, Nick Foster on the left of your screen, Tim Slade on the right, completely on the right. Alexander Imperatori ended up on the grass as he tried to overtake Raffaele Marcello and went backwards. Great start, Nick Foster in the lead of the race. Got in front of Tim Slade at the start, as you saw. Number 72 Mercedes really starting to make its presence felt on yesterday's class winner. But then talking about making a presence felt, there was Tim Slade, ran out of road, clipped the back of the number 12. And a sneaky little spin from the 888 Mercedes. That is why Alexander Matchell suddenly lost 3 positions. The driver wasn't saying thank you very much to the driver at number 17, who was given a spin at the same corner, but not of his own making. Another matter under investigation is the contact between number 3, as Martin Rumpel tried to make his way up the order. He hit the back, or well, he had contact with Ju-Won Seo's Indigo Racing Mercedes, but where he was trying to grab some more points, he worked his way up the field. He ended up with none. And then we had the restart. After that, suddenly we had the car that was supposed to take the restart in the lead of the race diving into the pits. That put Dennis Lind, who was hoping to hunt him down. So Leo Yi-Hong Lee had to come in, run through the pits, and it was a clear run to the end of the race for Dennis Lind. The 666 Mercedes worked its way up into the lead of the GT4 class, and great pace from Ryoichiro Otsuka. The checkered flag taken by the 19 Lamborghini Huracan. So the FFF Racing team enjoying life to the full up on the pit wall. It's been their weekend. It's been wonderful at Suzuka.
Those were the highlights from rounds 5 and 6 Suzuka. Now we're going to focus on rounds 7 and 8 here at Fuji Speedway, and the man to keep you on the absolute edge of your seat, Bruce Jones.
Thank you very much, Claire, and I don't think I'll have to be the one doing the job. It'll be the drivers who keep us on the edge of our seats. 33 cars, the biggest field so far in the second series of Blancpain GT Series Asia. A lot more Japanese interest in the racing here. And certainly if you're fans of GT4, you've got a lot of national pride as a Japanese fan, because victory in the second of the two races at Suzuka for BMW Team Studi, and they're looking very, very well set with the first two positions in the GT4 class here at Fuji Speedway. A very, very different sort of circuit. Take a look. The blue sector down to turn one, the dropping right-hander. Turn two follows immediately afterwards. Turn one is where the overtaking is going to take place. Then the technical middle sector of the circuit. You go to the lowest point of the track, sinuous downhill run. Then you get to the final part of the circuit. Turns 11 and 12, bottom right hand, left hand of your screen have been removed. There were problems with the track there, so 10 will sweep up to 13, but the most critical corner of the lap is turn 15, the final corner that feeds onto the start-finish straight. It's absolutely key for getting a good run down towards turn one, the place where almost all of the overtaking will happen at any lap beyond the opening lap of the race, where we expect the cars to be 2x2, even 3x3 into the first few corners. It's a very, very tricky final corner. It drops away on the exit. Many a driver finds their car being sucked out over the curbs. They can't put the power down. And certainly, I'm sure there'll be some driver penalties for exceeding track limits. But look how popular it is on the grid. Friends, family, teams, VIPs, sponsors all pouring out to take a look at the 33 cars. 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 positions. And though Mercedes leads the way, their top running car in this race will be starting with Nico Bastian at the wheel from row number 5, from 9th on the grid. So right at the front end, this fabulous mix of cars, and we have a Nissan on pole for the first time. In fact, they've got pole for tomorrow's race as well. That will be the sister car, number 18, starting on pole tomorrow. But today it's Eduardo Liberati who will start ahead of Jono Lester, who's joined the championship in the 27 Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari this weekend. But one massive advantage for Jono Lester and his teammate Nick Foster is they have from starting second. He'd rather sweep in from the left. He's going to have to take turn one from the right. Just saying, as they say, here is turn one. Super tight. I'm surprised there aren't more fans up on the grandstand, on the banking there. Fabulous views out over the circuit, but such a technical twist and turn. But on the opening lap, there's bound to be more than a few cars running out over the curbing on the outside. Turn one turns very quickly into turn two. The track drops away, and it's very easy to be beguiled into going on the outside line. Then you find the cars on the inside are pushed a bit too deep in the corner, and you're forced to go off the circuit. There's going to be a lot of sorting out of places here on the opening lap. But just look how busy it is down on the grid. A very, very hot, humid, sticky day at Fuji Speedway, but the most important thing is to find out what's happening at the front end of the grid. We heard from Eduardo Liberati, who'll be starting on pole position, but we're going to go down to Claire, who is with Nick Foster, who will be the second driver in the 27 Ferrari. The driver who will start is Jono Lester, but let's hear from Nick Foster.
Alrighty, in P2 here we've got car number 27, Nick Foster. Now, Nick, you've had considerable amount of good energy coming off this season. Now, I know with you, it's your first time pairing with Jono, though you guys are good friends.
Yeah, so Jono and I have met many years ago when we were racing TRS in New Zealand, so it's been a long friendship. First time we've actually driven together, though, so it's been a positive. It's first time for him in this car, so and his first new tyre run in it was in qualifying. So I think to be on the front row for him was a mega job, and yeah, we just see how the race pans out from here.
All right, and what do you think you guys will bring to the table as this new pairing?
Yeah, a few more laughs maybe, but no, look, to be honest, it's good. Everything's as it should be. You know, we're starting on the front row again. We just do our thing, and hopefully we get a good result at the end of it.
Well, ever positive. Thank you there, Nick.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Always good to hear from Nick Foster. Could have, maybe should have won last time out at Suzuka, but didn't, and certainly he is very, very ambitious to take a first win in the championship here this weekend. And Nick's had a really good run so far through this season for Hub Auto Corsa. 4th, 5th, 2nd, 6th, 4th, and then the poor results in the second race, despite starting from pole position and setting fastest lap at Suzuka. He knows the pace is there. The sister car has plenty of pace, particularly with Davide Rigon on board, but his teammate Maurice Chen qualified down in about 20th position. No, precisely in 20th position. And so it's going to be a long way to climb for the 28 sister car. But right now, it's a bright day. It's certainly very, very hot out there, but still clouds around. It was much cloudy this morning. It started to clear, but still we haven't been able to see today the top of Mount Fuji, the most famous of backdrops, the wonderful classical volcanic cone up above the beautiful trees here in this national park to the west of Tokyo. But just to reiterate, we have 5 different makes of cars in the first 5 positions on the grid. Nissan, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche and Audi. Best of the Mercedes back down in 9th on the grid. Don't forget, though, it's we have a lot of Pro-Am pairings here, which is exactly how we like it, but it does mean that one car's position in the first part of the race could change dramatically, either going forwards or backwards in the second half of the race. The race 1 hour long, the second race tomorrow. But it could be, so I don't know how the temperature's going to go tomorrow. Certainly today was supposed to be very hot indeed. There was talk of 36 degrees, and they lowered that target to 33 degrees. I'm waiting to see the latest temperature. I'd say it's more like about 31 degrees, but the humidity is very high. Though it's an hour long, and no driver will do more than 35 minutes at the very most. Those sitting in the cars at the moment will be keeping their doors open as long as they possibly can as we enter the final countdown to the race that will start at 10 past. So 3 minutes to go before the start of the race. In fact, just about 2 minutes to go, we'll see another light going out on that starting gantry. That will be the key. And also the drivers know that once all the extra people, those not essential for working on the cars, are pushed away from the grid, asked to leave, and doing so very politely here at Fuji Speedway, then they can really start to focus on their formation lap and just gathering their thoughts about 2 corners in particular. How they can get the exit of turn 15 right to give them a wonderful slingshot down the start-finish straight. Obviously, they don't want to jump the start. We'll come to that in a minute. But also how and where they're going to position their car behind another to try and get a really good slipstream down on the run to turn 1. And there the track. Until you've been at Fuji, you cannot understand how much it drops away to the right-hand side. When you look at a track map, you can't tell too much. But once you're out there, certainly if you're doing a track walk, you can really, really feel how turn 1 drops into turn 2 and the track keeps falling down towards turn 3 before it fairly much levels out. But one of the most beautiful things about the circuit here at the Fuji Speedway is the constant gradient change. It always adds to the mix of a circuit. And here it has it aplenty, built into the mountainside. Welcome breeze, though, blowing across the sides of the main grandstand overlooking the start-finish straight. And, of course, those sitting at the grandstand can see over the pit building and down to the valley beyond, down towards Gotemba. And I noticed when I last looked across the valley, the mountains on the far side have also got clouds around their tops. They're slightly higher than the ones you can see down beyond turn 1. But if they've got clouds on top, then Mount Fuji up above us most certainly does as well. But those down on the grid will know full well the sun is beating on them as they are asked to leave the grid. So 26 cars in the GT3 class and 7 cars in the GT4, the junior class, bring us up to a total of 33 cars, the biggest grid in this, the second season of the Blancpain GT Series Asia. So first pole position for the KCMG Nissan crew, and alongside the Ferrari number 27 from Hub Auto Corsa. A bit further back here is the 86 car, and that's starting in 11th place. Mitch Gilbert will kick off before handing over to Aditya Patel. Great mix of cars, 4 classes. Effectively, we've got the Silver Cup, which is for silver driver pairings. We've got the Pro-Am Cup for drivers of mixed ranking. Then we've got the Am Cup for 2 bronze runners, and then the GT4 Cup for those running in the GT4 class cars. And they lap, in fact, their best lap is as near as 10 seconds down on the ultimate pace. So those 7 cars running in GT4 will be fighting their own battle within a battle. There is the view back across the valley. So looking for Mount Fuji is often a rather tricky job when you're here. And it's up on the right, behind the clouds. Take our word for it, it was there last time the clouds had rolled away. And on both sides of the valley then, mountains being covered at the top by the clouds. So let's take a look as cars go out on their formation lap at the grid. Starting in pole position, Eduardo Liberati in the better placed of the 2 KCMG Nissans. John O'Lester, new to the championship in the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari. FFF Racing Team, the championship leader, Dennis Lind. And then Sandy Stuvik showing the progress continues for the Craft Bamboo Racing Team. Third row, Martin Rump, winner last time out at Suzuka. And Yuki Taniguchi and Alexander Imperatori in the second KCMG Nissan. Row number 4, Phoenix Racing, still looking strong. Sean Throng and Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the second FFF Racing Lamborghini. Nico Bastian, that is the best place of the Mercedes. So it shows how other manufacturers are getting in on the action. Porsche still showing strongly as well in the Team EBI from Japan. And Anthony Liu will hand over to Josh Burden, so expect that car to move up the order in the second half of the race. Aidan Reid and Darryl O'Young will be slightly disappointed with 15th place because Craft Bamboo Porsche is going better and better. Another Porsche alongside from D-Station Racing. Indigo Racing, the Korean team, continues to go well, just ahead of the second of the Mercedes, down in 18th place. Car Guy Racing, 3 cars on board this weekend. This is their Ferrari alongside their 2 Lamborghinis. And Maurice Chen and Davide Rigon, 21st position. Davide Rigon, works Ferrari driver, taking the second part of the race. That will definitely be one of the first cars to make a pit stop. Down towards the tail of the 26 cars we have in GT3. A number more runners. Arrows Racing back on board. They did the opening round with their Honda at Sepang. Hadn't been around since. Got the AMAC Motorsport Lamborghini in behind. Then comes the top two runners in GT4, the two BMW Team Studio M4s. Tsunaka Jukuchu will start from class pole in that. Brian Lee, Tony Fong in the best placed of the Porsche Caymans. And the McLaren, a winner here 12 months ago in the hands of Richard Wee, is back for more. Last three cars on the grid. In fact, the car that should be slightly further up is the car starting on the last row. 72 had a ride height infringement that's put it to the back of the grid for both today's race and tomorrow. But there's been plenty of speed from that number 72 Mercedes, so look for its progress as the 1 hour race unfolds. So who's it going to be on the run to the first corner? At this point, they're concentrating as they go through the final few corners of the lap in getting heat into their tyres. Heat they're going to need, not so much going down the start-finish straight, but for when they want to turn into the first turn. No doubt, either trying to make a passing manoeuvre or fend off someone else. They've got to get the heat in the tyres so they can get around that tight turn one that feeds almost immediately into turn two. One little slip wide, you'll be over the curbs, won't be able to put the power down. You could lose 2, 3, 4, 5, half a dozen positions. That will be in the minds of Edoardo Liberati in the Nissan. One with the white nose, the sister car had the blue nose, a reverse colour scheme. You can see the sister car in 6th place. So it's John O'Lester on the outside of the front row. Dennis Lynn, championship leader, in 3rd place. Number 19 with a 19-point championship lead. Then the better placed of the Craft Bamboo Porsches in 4th place overall. Sandy Stuvik, Martin Rump behind, and Yuki Taniguchi in the 2nd of the KCMG Nissan. So all eyes on the lights on the starting gantry. Who is going to be leading? Not so much into turn one, but out of turn one. Again, a long hold. Waiting, and you can see people jostling for position. The power is down as the cars blast away from the grid as the lights turn from red to green. Fantastic start from Liberati. Looks as though Dennis Lind may be able to challenge John O'Lester down into turn one, but the Ferrari has just got its nose in front, but he's left the door open into 2nd place. Surely goes Lind. The cars at the back almost having to stand fully on the anchors to avoid each other, and always one of the Nissans is off. It's the white nose one. So we've got Liberati into the lead of the race, but if his teammate, oh, that's cruel luck indeed for Yuki Taniguchi. He's been spat towards the edge of the circuit. So Tier and Martin Rump taking the wide line down at turn 4. As turn 4 starts, the cars feeding around the middle part of the circuit, going underneath the cafeteria, someone kicking up the dust on the inside. But a brilliant start from the pole starter. Edoardo Liberati did what he had to do. He got clear. He's leading the race. Dennis Lind up the inside into 2nd place. And in fact, it looks as though the second Nissan is still in the race, so I've misidentified the car. Oh dear, it's the Craft Bamboo car number 911. That was Sandy Stuvik. Sorry, white, black and blue look very similar. That was the one that went wide out of turn 2. So it's Nissan in 1st and 3rd position, just as I announced the demise of Yuki Taniguchi. He springs up in 3rd place. It was the white, blue and green Porsche that was pushed off the circuit, or fell off the circuit on the exit of turn 2, ran across the gravel, the grass. Don't know if it clouted the barriers, but no such problems for our race leader, Edoardo Liberati. It's the L's at the front. Liberati, Lint, but unfortunately for Leicester, he's fallen back to 5th place. 2nd on the grid, he got pushed wide at turn 1, and in the sort-out that probably led to the demise of Sandy Stuvik, he's lost a few more places. As I pointed out before the start of the race, get it slightly wrong in turn 1 and the problem can carry on all the way through turn 2, all the way down to turn 3, as you try and get the power back down. But at the end of the opening lap, an advantage of 0.8 of a second. That's a very tidy advantage. Look at the 999 Mercedes. Way up the grid. Neko Bastian started down in 9th place, up into 4th. Job well done, just ahead of John O'Lester. Martin Rump, we saw him have that little off-track moment at turn 3. He's tucked back in. He's in 6th place overall. So Lester and Rump were the losers on the opening lap. Liberati held station in the lead. Dennis Lynn moved importantly up into that 2nd position. Just want to point out at this very early stage, 23 and 19, they're the first 2 cars in the race, have respectively a 10-second and 15-second extra pit stop time they have to make. There's a minimum pit stop time, and then if you finish in the first 3 positions in the previous race, you have to carry success penalty. The success penalty is that extra time at a standstill. So whatever the minimum time is in the pit lane, you have to add that extra time. So these 2 drivers, Liberati and Lynn, know they have to pin their ears back and really go for it. Falling back to 5th place is a bit of a disaster for John O'Lester, but as long as he stays within 15 seconds, let's say within 10 seconds of this 2, by the time he gets to the pit stops, then he'll at least hand over to Nick Foster with a very good crack at overall victory. But it must be said, the first 2 cars really starting to show a clean bit of air between them and the rest. So really, really cruel luck. I'd like to see a replay of the first couple of corners at the start of the race. Sandy Stuvik starting from 4th position, really, really looking for a good result here. But caught up in the inevitable melee into the opening corner, and clearly has paid the price of that. And, for Sandy Stuvik, very unlucky indeed. That second place in the opening race 3 weeks ago on our first visit to Japan, to Suzuka, was really, really welcome for the team, but unfortunately no points for them in the first of the 2 races here at Fuji Speedway this weekend. Gap between first and second, it's gone out by 0.2 of a second, up to just a whisker over 1 second overall. In third place is still Yuki Taniguchi. He's 2.5 seconds back, but you can see the challenge starting to come. John O'Lester in 5th place, looking to get around Nico Bastian. Nico getting a bit loose. Martin Rump in behind, a winner last time out at Suzuka. Really trying to make good for that off-track moment. Tucked in behind Rump is Sean Thong in the number 5 Audi. Oh gosh, Martin Rump is going very wide in trying to take a quicker line on the exit as the cars go out of turn 8. Little kink. Effectively, that's the end of turn 9 to turn 9. When we get up to turn 10, the track it turns right, and then it normally turns right again. Just look on the side of your image in a second. When we go around the corner, the loop at turns 11 and 12, you can see the track going off has been cut off for this race. There was some potholes in the circuit. It was deemed a little unsafe for the GT3 cars in particular, with their very low ride height, and it was excluded. So it puts a whole new emphasis on turn 10. A different line can be taken, because instead of turning almost immediately into 11, the runners can take a much longer run up the hill as the track curves up towards the final sequence of corners, up towards turn 13, where they finally get to turn right again. Fastest lap of the race, no surprise after 2 laps, is to the race leader, Edoardo Liberati. This looks like a faster lap still. His advantage was 1 second. It looks like the 666 Mercedes has a puncture, I think, cruising in slowly right at the back of the field. This is very unfortunate, and this is the race debut in the championship of South Korean racer. Races with Japanese license, thus the Japanese flag. Daeun Hwang. He's been doing some Japanese Formula 4, but he's picked up a puncture, so I'm afraid his race won't be over, but it's severely dented. Hold below the waterline, you could say. 1.1 seconds is now the gap between first and second. Another 1/10 of a second gained. Taniguchi hanging on in 3rd place, but he's 3 seconds adrift. Nico Bastian under big pressure from John O'Lester, holding down 4th place. Martin Rump here, there and everywhere, trying to get up from 6th place overall, and Sean Thong right in under his slipstream. But at the moment, Edoardo Liberati, fastest lap of the race, sitting on that lead, 1.1 seconds, looking very, very comfortable. Another thing I want to throw into the mix right now is these Nissans from KCMG have really started to pick up their form last time out in Suzuka, but what they seem to do is come good right at the end of these 1 hour races. So the fact they're at the front at the moment is very, very ominous for their rivals. Oh dear, this isn't a planned pit stop for the Clearwater Racing McLaren. Can't see any damage to the car. We've seen a potential puncture. We cover off the back, the engine cover off. So I don't know if it's an ignition problem they feel they can fix, but that's dropping that down to the tail. So 2 of the 7 cars in the GT4 class have hit problems. The 666 Mercedes we saw limping in. Looks as though the Indigo Racing, was that the 666? Yes, it is. Finally making it back. I thought it was the Indigo Racing Mercedes from GT3. No, it's the GT4 runner, 666. That was a very slow in-lap. So I can't see a punch on this side. I don't know. I thought I spied it. We had the early shots, but that's a slow limp in. So 2 of the 7 runners in GT4 separated from the rest of the pack. Into 3rd place, still in 3rd place, Taniguchi. Now a little look up the inside from John O'Lester. Continues to put Nico Bastian under pressure in their battle for 4th place overall. Gap between 1st and 2nd was 1.1 seconds, is now, after a new fastest lap for Edoardo Liberati, up to 1.3, nearly 1.4 seconds. Now, one of the big problems was the 666 Mercedes had technical problems in both of the qualifying sessions and in one of the practice sessions, and I don't know if that has manifested itself again, because having thought it was a puncture, there doesn't appear to be so. No such problems if you're driving a BMW, because they are first, and they were 1st and 3rd, but only just now up into 2nd place in class goes Kenny Rata. So 1st and 2nd in GT4 for Tsunaka Jukuchu, and now Kenny Rata up into 2nd place in the 82 car. The McLaren that's between them has just come out of the pits, and the Porsche came in behind. Brian Lee has just moved down from 2nd in class, being demoted by Kenny Rata. So the great form shown at Suzuka continues. So it's looking very, very good for the Japanese team on home ground. And don't forget, the 666 Mercedes started in the hands of Kwang, but unfortunately the regular racer, Reinhold Renger, doesn't look as though he's going to get a race unless they can fix it. He certainly won't be getting points, but he's been the consistent standard in the GT4 class through the season, but certainly the Team Studi BMW has been getting faster and faster and faster. Won the second of the 2 races at Suzuka, and I must say in the hands particularly of Sunaka Jukochu is just pulling ever further clear in the class. Just looks so well balanced, so on top of its game. First to second was 1.1 second, 1.3, now it's 1.4, and here they come. Liberati just set the new fastest lap of the race for the 3rd lap running. Dennis Lind, championship leader, trying his best to hang on. But number 23 car leading the race has a 10-second extra minimum time it must spend into pit stop, of the car. Second in the race has to stay for a further 15 seconds at a standstill. So they need to continue to streak away. The car running 3rd does not have a time penalty in the pits. So the second of the Nissans, the number 18 car, Yuki Taniguchi, as long as he can keep them in his sight, should be able to hand the lead, if he pits from 3rd place, over to his teammate. And his teammate isn't just any old teammate, it's an absolutely excellent driver in the form of Alexandra Imperatori. Knows these tracks very well indeed, spent a lot of his racing career out in Southeast Asia, and certainly experience at Fuji Speedway, experience at Suzuka really is very, very much required. 2 very technical circuits indeed, and that's why also this weekend so many Japanese teams have added to the already excellent number of teams we had at Suzuka for races 5 and 6 of the second Blancpain GT Series Asia. And up the inside, well, Martin Rutt's been looking very feisty for a number of laps. Up the inside of John O'Lester's Ferrari into the final corner, but braked, went in too late, couldn't complete the corner, was washed out, and he's back behind the Ferrari again. But this is excellent news for the 999 Mercedes, because finally John O'Lester has fallen off the tail of Nico Bastian, so Bastian can now concentrate on trying to catch Yuki Taniguchi. There is Taniguchi in 3rd place, leading down towards turn 1. Well, 3rd place, but of course not leading overall, but the hiding continues to change, and it's not just Martin Rumpin on the act, but number 5 Audi of Sean Thong. So plenty of action. There we see 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, covered by literally a couple of seconds, and in behind, oh dear, further problems for McLaren. They thought they could fix that. In behind, I just need to continue my thought process there. 33, one of the 2 Yamano brothers, Naoya, having a really good run for Porsche Team EDI, 8th overall. So that's been excellent progress in the early stage of the race. Number 3 car started in 11th position, so he's gained 3, and one of those positions was gifted to him by the demise of Sandy Stuvik after 2 corners of the race. Started 4th in his Craft Bamboo Racing Porsche, but clearly 2 places gained on complete merit. A little further down, cluster of Lamborghinis, Success Racing in the middle, but in the front of the pack, the AMAC Racing Lamborghini, Andrew McPherson, ahead of 390, which is driven by Tomotsu Kondo, and tucked in behind in the 177 car from Car Guy Racing, it's Koichi Okumura. But no questioning who's leading the race. Gap, though, actually came down very slightly last time around. 1.4 seconds has become 1.3 seconds. What's it going to go down to or up to? Since the Lamborghini, Dennis Lind is starting to get into its stride. It goes the other way, 1.5 seconds. So it's staying around that mark the last 3 laps. But in time, the 2 cars that really need to streak clear, they've got this extra time due at their pit stops. They've got to keep building. Another challenge in the background from Sean Thong, just trying his best to upset Martin Rump, and that would be good news indeed for the driver ahead of them, John O'Lester. He wants them off his tail. They're both starting to challenge him, but in fact now what's happened over the last lap or so, suddenly John O'Lester, who's just taken a third of a second off the driver ahead of him, who's Nico Bastian. Bastian holding down 4th place for the Group M Racing team with its Mercedes, but he had a little advantage over Leicester, and now it's much smaller in turn. That was because Leicester was able to attack because Martin Rump suddenly had his hands very full indeed trying to hold off Sean Thong. So it's ebbing and flowing in the minor point scoring positions. Points go down from 1st to 10th. 10th place at the moment. 1 point is heading the way of Mitch Gilbert still, though we have 47 minutes remaining in this race, so let's not count our chickens. 1-2, or 81-82 if you like, 1st and 2nd in the GT4 class, Jukuchu, and here comes 82, Ken Urata. Japanese team, Japanese drivers heading towards possibly a class win in Japan, so they will be very, very happy indeed with the team's form. John O'Lester just set the fastest first sector of anyone. He moved on to the tail of Nico Bastian last time around. so-so middle sector. Where he gained in the first sector, he seems to be losing in the second. But some teams happy to set up their cars to be really quick down the straight because they feel as long as their drivers can obstruct anybody behind and stop them from overtaking through the twisty bits, as long as they're quick down towards turn 1, then they should have things covered. Edoardo Liberati staying very, very static, this gap from first to second. In fact, on that last lap, there was only 5 thousandths of a second between them, but in the favour of Edoardo Liberati, and that was the new fastest lap of the race. Yeah, that shows that turn 3 just how hard Liberati is pushing out over the curbs, and only a little bit beyond, though. Managed to keep 2 wheels within the white lines to stay officially on the circuit. So there it is, 1.536 seconds, and then look who's in the background. Nobody. You could just see the nose of Yuki Taniguchi turning into turn 7 in the background. You can see it just over the concrete walls at the side of the circuit. But this too need to continue streaking clear. They've got this advantage, as you can see, they're about to catch the last few cars in the GT4 class. And this is where the gap could either open up or close right down. It depends where they catch those GT4 cars. Yuki Taniguchi still got that little advantage in 3rd place overall. He's 1.5 seconds clear of Nico Bastian, and Bastian in the Mercedes number 999 entry is starting to have his mirrors filled by John O'Lester in that little red Ferrari. It certainly looks small when it's tucked in behind the big Mercedes. Don't forget though that it's a Pro-Am pairing. Yuki Taniguchi in 3rd overall is the AM, whereas the number 23 car, the sister car from KCMG, that's along with the white nose, is the Pro lineup, so we call it silver. So we've got 2 silver, or silver and more class drivers. Drivers can be platinum, gold, silver, bronze, or even unclassified, but this is only open to drivers from gold heading downwards. So it looks so first and second, it's actually very slightly closed in. Dennis Lind now 1.28 seconds down, and the 888 Mercedes has been for a pit visit. So Alexander Matchell having to come almost to a standstill when he comes out of pit exit. I don't know what that was for, that was untowards. Oh, a little message on the screen. 5 cars under investigation for false starts. We certainly saw some fanning out. They tried to preempt the start. We saw the long shot from turn 1 looking backwards, fanning out. They are car number 82. Let's just run you through who's got potential problems. A good little battle going on just outside the top 10. So it would be great to see a replay of the starts. So our wish is the director's command. Here is the replay of the starts, and as the letters fan out, you can see, oh yes, you can see the number 45 Audi, the AM class, going wide to try and get a run down to the first corner. It was a very long hold of the lights, and those who got too close to cars in front of them decided to duck out. Tidy at the front end, you can see John O'Lester being just edged out of the way from Dennis Lind, and this is where the problem started for a handful of the drivers as turn 1 went to turn 2, and off with a helping hand goes Sandy Stuvik, into the wall, much harder than I realised. So he's come back onto the circuit, the car is damaged, but easy run down to turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, and at 3 going into 4 is where Martin Rump went wide. He lost position to Nico Bastian. Bastian up from 9th to 4th in no time at all. And there it was. So dramatic start, but particularly if you were Sandy Stuvik, so very unfortunate. It was looking all set for a top run. But now we suddenly have a challenge for the lead, and having closed in under going past the GT4 traffic, we have Dennis Lind diving into the lead and can just get enough braking done into turn 1. He closed to within 1.2 seconds last time around, but as they came to the start-finish line, he was 0.011 of a second behind, but he had the momentum to carry into turn 1. Championship leader, but he's the one with 15 seconds extra to stop. The car is now in second place, Liberati and Strauss. That has to stop for an extra 10 seconds, so as long as they can stay with the 19 Lamborghini, they should be fine when it comes out after stops. But let's see what Liberati can do, how much he can stretch away. So let's take a look at a replay of the change for the lead. In the background, as they come up to the GT4 class leading cars with a better run out of turn 15, therefore more momentum down the straight. Dennis Lind used a slipstream up the inside of Edoardo Liberati into the lead of the race. So just as when it looked as though we had status quo, I said the gap between first and second could go out or close in. I didn't think there'd be enough to change the order, but clearly maybe a very slight delay coming out of turn 15, but certainly the power was down better for the Lamborghini racer, and FFF Racing Team finally took their first win of this year's championship in the second of the 2 races 3 weeks ago at Suzuka. Championship leader in 19, a 19-point advantage now into the lead of this race. But I will say it now and I'll say it again, has to be at a standstill for 15 seconds longer, and they're not yet 15 seconds clear. In fact, 15 seconds takes them back to 8th place overall. They'd moved behind the Yamano brothers in the Team EBI Porsche. But now, this time around, is it a change of position? No, it isn't. Eduardo Liberati thought he had enough of a toe, but the sleeker body shape, you can see the lower roof line on the Lamborghini, was enough in a straight line. Despite the punch of the Nissan out of the curves, why not flash your lights? Try anything you can do to upset the driver in front. So, Liberati, unaccustomed as he is in this race until this point to being in second place, is now he's got great speed through turns 6 and 7. Looking down from turn 8, the tight left-hand hairpin. Doing enough as they go towards turn. Oh, Liberati running very wide indeed. Dennis Lind particularly well balanced, it must be said, in the Lamborghini Huracan. So here they are through the kink at turn 9, up into turn 10. Now, the drivers under investigation for the jump start, 5 of them, as I said, I'll give you their numbers because the jump start investigation has become a drive-through penalty. Car number 47, that's the D-Station Racing Porsche, 13th position at the moment in the hands of Satoshi Hoshino. Car number 45, a perpetual class winner in the AM class, also Takeda and Takuya Hirosaka, they will be coming in for a drive-through penalty. They're down in 20th position. Car number 777, that's 19th. And that is one of the two car guy racing Lamborghinis. Takeshi Kimura will have to serve the drive-through penalty. That leaves 2 more, 98. And 98 is the Arrows Racing, welcome back to the championship, the Philip Marr-driven Honda NSX. And the final car with the drive-through penalty is 82. That's in the GT4 class. It's the car in second place in the class. Ken Urate, 6 seconds down on his teammate. Looks though that's him diving in to make the drive-through penalty right now, entering the pit lane. Here is the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th. Is the red Ferrari tucked in behind Martin Rumpel, 6th. Sean Fong tucked in behind him as well. So the first the runners to make a drive-through penalty. How unfortunate indeed for the 82 crew. That was running second in class, didn't have the pace of the sister car, but was looking all set for a podium position. The NSX still sitting in the background. In fact, it's been pushed back into its garage. So for Ken Urata, that is a bit of a blip in his race. It's impossible to make up the time of a drive-through penalty. The position will be very, very strung out indeed. Dennis Lind leading the race, the number 19 Lamborghini from Eduardo Liberati by 0.89 of a second. Around the outside for the number 7 Audi. That's in the hands of Andrew Kim as he lapped a couple of GT4 cars all the way down in 16th position, racing on his own. He's 10 seconds down on the second of the FFF racing Lamborghinis. Here's the Honda NSX. That's another one serving a drive-through penalty. Good to see the 666 Mercedes is back out on the circuit, outside the top 30 positions after its pit stop. 33 starters this weekend, the biggest grid in the 2018, the second Blancpain GT Series Asia. And certainly interest from Japanese teams suggests that quite a few of them might be coming to play for the entire season, not just the 2 Japanese rounds next year. Oh, very, very, very close. 5th, 6th and 7th. 5th place, John O'Lester. In that number 27, the red Ferrari from Hub Auto Corsa. Where's the sister car? Yeah, Maurice Chen has advanced up to 17th. That will go very quickly indeed in the second half of the race, but at the moment he's getting on for 50 seconds down on the race lead. So however good Davide Rigon is, he'll gain positions, but not great order. We have the Honda NSX really starting to bottle up. Taniguchi trying to resist Nico Bastian in the Mercedes. Bastian trying to use this as the moment to springboard past, and behind him it looks so Martin Rumpel's gone. Oh, I thought he was going to get around the outside of John O'Lester. At the last moment, Jono decided to change tack and move to the outside of the circuit. He's only just preserving position. In behind Sean Thong, the red, white and black Audis. He goes through turn 10. Moves on to the tail. Oh, Nico Bastian is having to work very hard indeed. To the outside went Taniguchi, but Bastian has made it past. And now John O'Lester's gone through. I really felt that we could have place changes. Now it's going to be a problem. One position loss became 2, has become 3 for Taniguchi. Pushed over the dirt. Now, how much poise has he got? The Nissan very quick out of the corner, but Martin Rupp was always going to carry more speed out of the corner because he was going on the outside line. Kept 2 wheels on the circuit. If anything, it's starting to catch the toe. But look how the Nissan closes right in. It's a much taller car. Shouldn't have that level of straight line speed. He's got a bit of a toe, but also the punch the Nissan has out of turn 15. Maybe Taniguchi can gain positions back, but he's on the outside line. Martin Rump is wise to that. Covers the inside. Moves as wide as he can into the corner, and suddenly Sean Thong is now challenging. So that was a rather cruel lap there for Taniguchi. Was third, knocked back by Bastian, not knocked, just pushed back. Here is Bastian, the 999 Mercedes, into third. Taniguchi back to 6th place overall. So Bastian, Lester and Rump all moved up a position. And Bastian suddenly looking very feisty indeed as he pushes hard through turn 7 into turn 8. Number 5, Sean Thong, really getting up close and personal to the tail end of Taniguchi. Race leader, championship leader, the number 19 Lamborghini from FFF Racing Team, Dennis Lind, will be handing over to Martin Kodrich. What a strong driver pairing. But the bearded Dane has just been getting stronger and stronger through this year. They finally took that first win in the 6th race of the championship. That was the second of the races at round 3 weekends ago at Suzuka. Very, very happy indeed. But he knows he has to keep pressing. I'll mention it once more. At least this car, the race leader, he's clear by not even 0.8 of a second. You see, Liberati has been dropped, but not by a great deal. These 2 cars have extra time at the standstill. So they need to build as big an advantage as they possibly can get. And here come the first, the pit visitors. I thought Taniguchi would be in early. He'd just been passed last time around. Sean Thong comes in from behind. Sean will be handing over to Alex Jung, and Liberati will be handing over to Alexander Imperatori. Here comes the Swiss racer Imperatori around the outside. They were all smiles after qualifying. This will be the car that starts tomorrow's race from pole, thanks to Alexander Imperatori's efforts. It's been a very, very good showing indeed from number 18 runner from Taniguchi. All looks standard. Nothing has to be rushed in a Blancpain Series pit stop. There's a minimum time you can have at a standstill, and that gives you time of plenty to complete your pit stop without having to rush. And almost as early as possible, the pit window not long open, Maurice Chen brings in the 28 Ferrari. That will have Davide Rigon taking over there. The Italian is now waiting to jump on board, and driver of fantastic pedigree. Maurice Chen will be delighted to have him as his teammate. Davide has been competing in the World Endurance Championship for a number of years now for Ferrari. Always features at the front end in that. Dennis Lind, however, carries on in the lead of the race. Gap is 0.792, just of a second. Just waiting to see what it is this time around. Number 19 Lamborghini. 1.027 seconds clear, so another good lap. 0.2 of a second gained by our race leader. Ben Porter getting ready to take over. Andrew McPherson brings the 51 Lamborghini out into the pit apron, onto the pit apron. For the older Australian to hand to the younger Australian. No seat insert required. Drivers always have to remember not to fall over the air hose, particularly when their car is being filmed. It's not a good look. But as you can see, the wheel changes don't have to be notably hurried, and that is good. It's definitely a safety element. It also means you can have fewer mechanics, which helps keeps the cost in check as much as they possibly can. Davide Rigon coming out of the pit lane. Let's see how far that car can advance. But in from the lead in GT4, Sunako Chikocho, he will hand over to his teammate Takayuki Kinoshita. They're really a very, very strong pairing indeed. But that's been a tidy advantage for the 81 BMW. Again, no need to run out. Gentle jog there from Kinoshita. Again, one of the many teams you see out practicing their driver changes and pit stops as much as they possibly can over yesterday and again this morning between sessions. Doing practice, which kicked off at a very early o'clock. Oh dear, the sister car has gone for a spin, the 82 car. Kenny Rata, he's been driving the whole stint. He's had that drive-through penalty to serve. I don't know if that meant his tyres lost temperature and therefore that almost predetermined a spin was a likelihood, but Kenny Rata blotting his copybook potentially for the second time. So those drive-through penalties will for start infringements, whether jump start or being out of alignment. But in a championship like this, any drive-through penalty, team managers will drum into their drivers. You can really just waste all the efforts that everybody's put in. 86, it's the Mitch Gilbert session coming to an end in this race, and Aditya Patel, his Indian teammate, will take over the Audi Racing Audi for the second part of the race, very nearly at the halfway point in this 1 hour race. And it's Dennis Lind leading in the 19 Lamborghini ahead of the 23 Nissan of Eduardo Liberati. Nico Bastian, the best of the rest, up now into third position overall, but he's 13 seconds down on Liberati. So with a 63 cutting up the dirt, it's a tough little tussle. That's Marco Mapelli just taken over for Hiroshi Hamaguchi, and immediately he's into a battle with the 60. He's in the 63 car, very, very tight out there on the circuit. But the race lead still with Dennis Lind. Here he is. And the 23 Nissan Eduardo Liberati knows that the window is halfway through its 10-minute period of being open, and he dives into the pit lane and will hand over to his teammate Florian Strauss. In comes the 23 Nissan. And so it'll be another nice, tidy pit stop. But don't forget, extra 10 seconds required at a standstill during this pit stop. So all the early laps in the first part of the race, I think we should see this car coming out possibly still in second or even third position. Came in from second, having led the early stages of the race, until eventually passed by Dennis Lind. Here is Dennis in the number 19 Lamborghini. He knows he's got an extra 5 seconds on top of the 10 seconds that Liberati's car will have to serve. So he's got to press on as hard as he possibly can. He wants to do your passing before it comes to the pit stop. So run as deep into the window as you can. When we have 25 minutes at the top of the race remaining at the top of our screen, then the pit window will be closed. So this lap and possibly one more from Dennis Lind before he hands over to his teammate Kodrich. Will that be enough? Pushing very, very hard indeed. I think Lind will do at least another lap before handing over to Martin Kodrich. 23 car back into the race. Florian Strauss having taken over from Eduardo Liberati, German after Italian driver. And this time around, our race leader, Dennis Lind, makes a pit stop. He could have squeezed in another lap, possibly even just about another lap, without risking it and possibly overrunning the pit stop period. The pit stop window will close when it says 25 minutes precisely at the top of the screen. But Dennis Lind into a standstill, and his teammate will be taking over. Starting third on the grid, Dennis Lind, Martin Kodrich. Out of the car he goes. Dennis's seat infill thrown away. No need to rush, particularly when you've got an extra 15 seconds at a standstill. Just prayed the in-lap was good, the out-lap was good. But I tell you what, the pit stops will be coming thick and fast. We had John O'Lester come in a few moments ago, and Claire's been super fast up the pit lane because she's already gone and got hold of the Kiwi.
Okay, with me we've got Jono Alessa, the Kiwi, dry car 27. Jono, tell us what happened. Second, and you dropped down now into fifth or sixth, I see on the screen.
Yeah, look, one thing we learned racing in Japan is about finishing races, and we had contact at turn one from one of the Lambos. We had a big dive from one of the Mercs in at 5, and the last thing I want to do is bring this car in with damage. We need to finish, so I took it easy for the first lap, but once you're in traffic, there's nothing you can do. So it was quite frustrating. It's quite a frustrating half hour, but this is racing, you know, this happens sometimes. Nick's got some great pace. We'll see how we go. I think we can get a podium, but maybe the win's out of reach now.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I know emotions are high right now.
Okay, no problem.
Let's take a look at what Nick is up to.
Well, I think it was a good tactic to bring Jono in early and get Nick into the car, Nick Foster, as quickly as possible, because Jono got bottled up. You could see him trying to challenge Nico Bastian's Mercedes. A couple of times he got very close indeed, but he was just being frustrated. He was starting to be attacked by the pair of Audis behind. So possibly a good thing if they have a good in and good out lap, it could change that whole pack around. And the 999 Mercedes has been handed over from Bastian to Niederhauser, and we're going to see how it shapes up. But now it's looking very, very good indeed for the KCMG Nissan team. You can see there too NISMO GT3s at the front of the pack, ahead of the 19 Lamborghini of Martin Kodric. This is the championship leader, but of course they were helped to get there, because although the number 23 Nissan had the 10 seconds extra at the pit stop, the sister car did not. That's allowed the number 18 sister Nissan to get in close, but it was an extra 15 seconds for the Lamborghini number 19, and that is why Martin Kodric is behind those two KCMG Nissans. In the GT4 class, number 72, Ringo Chong, down as the class leader, but that's because he's sitting in the pit garage. Nick Foster in the mix, just moved ahead of Martin Kodric, so the order continues to change. Two cars, though, under investigation for a clash on the circuit at the final corner. Cars 47 and 63, and 47 is the D-Station Racing Porsche, 63 the second of the FFF Racing Team Lamborghini, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, and the driver at the wheel at the moment, Marco Mappelli. So it looks though all the drivers have made their pit stop. Look, pit stop window is now closed, so if they've left it to this point in the race, it's too late. We saw the 666 Mercedes limping around with what I thought was a puncture. I think it was actually possibly an electrical problem. That is not in the overall mix, but it keeps out of the way the GT4 runner. GT3 AM class runner is the 45 Audi at the front of the field. Now here's a car pitting after the pit window has closed. I'm afraid for Arrows Racing, they were in the pits earlier. Maybe they stopped their watches, but this will lead to a further penalty. Pit window closed, and the 98 McLaren comes, sorry, 98 Honda NSX comes in out of sync and will pick up a time penalty. But the Nissan's looking good at the moment. 23 and 18 running nose to tail. Strauss ahead of Imperatori, but let's go down because Claire's busy in the pit lane, and she's gone up, found the number 72 Mercedes, and is joined down there by Ringo Chong.
Okay, with us now we've got Singapore driver Ringo Chong in car 72. Ringo, it looks like your car had significant problems out on circuit. Tell us what was going on.
Yeah, during the qualifying, the shock absorber collapsed, and then we failed the ride height, and we went all the way to the back. We tried to do something for it, but it didn't work very good. And then the car was very slow. So we had no choice, just keep up and finish the race and pass it down to Gilles, and hopefully we'll make some plays from there on.
Okay, great. Well, good luck for race 2 tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Plenty of frustration there, and as he was speaking we saw a change for the lead. One Nissan's moved ahead of the other, and it's Alexander Imperatori fighting hard with Strauss, just waiting for he comes through. It should be 18 ahead of 23. My timing screen tells me that Florian Strauss was ahead, only by 9 thousandths of a second, so the pass came just as they went over the start finish line. So it's now Alexander Imperatori. He joined the team last time out at Suzuka, certainly made an impression on arrival with the team, but going better and better. He took pole. He's got pole for tomorrow's race. He had a 6th place finish in the first of 2 races at Suzuka, but really started to fly. Don't forget he's in a Pro-Am pairing with Yuki Taniguchi, and Taniguchi did a really good job. We saw him running 3rd in that number 18 Nissan in the first part of the race, and that is reaping benefits once the Swiss racer is got on board, and he's starting to stretch his advantage. And in 3rd place now is Nick Foster in that red Hub Auto Corsa team. I just want to have a look and see. There's the red Ferrari from Hub Auto Corsa. Where is Davide Rigon? He's 15th, but you know what? He's just banged in the fastest lap of the race. He was one of the first drivers to take over, and the driver who Italian racer for Ferrari in the World Endurance Championship, showing his class. 1 minute 37.5 second lap. That's fastest by about 0.4 of a second. So he's going to pick up positions. Could be a few more laps since we get after his next target, which is Josh Burton. But after that, I think he can really work his way up the order. But here is the potential passing manoeuvre that could sort out who stands where on the podium. Oh, well, Imperatori, what a lap. 1 minute 37.1 seconds. That's why his advantage has gone out by, well, get this, 1.5 seconds on that lap alone. He took the lead by 9 1/1000ths last time around, and going at the start-finish line, 1.563 seconds clear at the head of the race. So it's Imperatoria from Strauss, Nissan from Nissan, and then Nick Foster in the red Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari in third place overall, about 4 and a bit seconds clear of the championship leader Martin Kodrich. Don't forget Kodrich's car, the 19 Lamborghini, had an extra 15 seconds added to his pit stop time. GT4 class leader is the 81 car we're looking at, one of the 2 BMW M4s from BMW Team Studio, sitting on a lead of, just waiting for the car behind, which should be car number 11, which is Tony Fong. That's second in class. No, it's well, just a blink of an eye under half a minute. So for Takayuki Kinoshita in the 81 BMW, looking set fair with 20 minutes remaining in this race to take victory in the GT4 class. This, though, is the battle for second place overall. This is Florian Strauss, the German racer, doing his utmost to hang on from Nick Foster. Down the start-finish straight they go. Nick almost close enough to use that slipstream. He's just in that intermediate, slightly turbulent air, which in fact is the worst air of all. Unsettles the car. Doesn't allow you to really use the slipstream you'd want, but you've got to try and sit in there and get close enough to get the pure slipstream. So Foster's made a better exit from turn 1, turn 2, through the kink at turn 3, jinx to the outside, but there's absolutely no way that Florian Strauss will let him have it. And all along they can see the race leader Alexander Imperatori, who's just going through turn 8 there, is eking his way clear from them. Another 0.8 of a second gained last time around. There is the lead Nissan, the one with the number 18 on the door. White nose, the sister car has the reverse livery. There we are, the blue nose on number 23. Florian Strauss really being harried by Nick Foster. Foster, God, you can see you go off the racing line, just how dusty it is here, but he'll be on the wrong line when he gets to turn 8, but can he pull across and take the corner? Wow, Florian Strauss doing his absolute all to keep hold of that second position. Turn 8, a long corner, he gets fully back in front. Better exit speed really ought to be the advantage the Ferrari has, but the punch there that Strauss has as they go up to the final corner sequence, enough to fend off this attack. It won't be the last from the Australian. Very close on the start for the straight. Nick Foster tucking under the rear wing of Florian Strauss. This is the battle for second position. Oh, he's close enough to use the toe. There we are. That is a defensive dive. And finally the move pays off. Turn 1. Oh, contact. I think officials might have a little look at that. Oh, it's so difficult. Turn 1. If you think you've got it covered from turn 1, turn 2 comes so quickly afterwards. Nick Foster really throwing Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari around. Oh, I fear we might have a puncture. There was a bit of body rubbing, and the way that Strauss ran off the circuit suggests all is not right with the handling of his Nissan. So when it was looking good for a 1-2 for Nissan, under pressure from Nick Foster, then there's that little bit of rubbing, and I think if we have the replay, that would be fantastic. And yes, indeed we do. It's coming our way very soon indeed. So it's Nissan 1 and 2, and this is why it's Nissan 1 and 3. Too deep into the first corner for Florian Strauss. Tucking up the inside went Nick Foster, the Australian coming down the hill. Couldn't turn his car as sharply as he wanted into turn 2, turn 3. Clouted the side by-side contact between the two runners there. And then Very soon after that, we had the 23 Nissan running off the circuit. I would think just around here, if there's a puncture, this is where it's starting to manifest itself. Because look, up here, and no way of turning into turn 5. Unless it was just dirt on his tyres by being off the circuit on the inside line. Let's see if he drops away. End of the lap. The advantage now 5 seconds for Imperatori. No, that was last time around for Imperatori. That was over his teammate Florian Strauss. Waiting to see what it would be this time. So Imperatori 5.5 seconds, but it's now the red Ferrari. You can see it with the lights ablaze, the orange lights ablaze. Coming through, 5.5 seconds down. He's 2.4 seconds clear of Strauss. So I don't think it was a puncture. I think it was just going wide, getting dirt on the tyres and just finding no grip at all as he went through turn 4 towards turn 5, running off over the grass on the outside, but has rejoined. Now he's just got the 72 GT4 class Mercedes in his way, and suddenly Marcin Kodric in the mix, could be heading back towards the podium. Looks as though with that 15-second success penalty after victory in the second of the 2 races in Suzuka, he'd be completely out for the count. But don't forget, the 19 car has led this race, but the extra 15 seconds at a standstill. Oh, dearie me. Sudden that point in the race, 63, limping in, shaking around. Marco Mappelli was starting to make great strides, but he's tumbled down the order. Clearly a puncture for him, the way that car's rocking around. It suggests one of the tyres we cannot see perhaps isn't even there anymore. Might just be that might be the tyre coming off the rim. No, it's got all the tyres. Either the front right looks a little bit flat, but it seemed far more violent as it was shaking and vibrating on the way in. No, it's rear left. I think if you predict one corner, it'd be the immediate polar opposite. Now, just outside the top 10, Darrell Young and Josh Burden. 991, Porsche ahead of 37 Audi, going at it hammer and tongs, and certainly Josh Burden showing a good deal of pace, and it looks like this is going to come sooner rather than later. Whether it's a successful passing move or not, we do not know. That's turn 10, just going past the turn 11 and 12 loop, which is not being used by the Blancpain runners this weekend due to track irregularities. Potholes. Just a little bit further back, the Success Racing Lamborghini pushing in the hands of Ken Sito. So how's this little seesawing battle between the 991 Porsche and Josh Burden in the 37 Audi going to go? Adderley Fong will be next in that line, but he's 7.5 seconds further back, so we won't see him in the same shot. First to second, 5.9 seconds. Just remind you of that great advantage, joined by Alex Imperatori. So fingernails will be being chewed by his teammate. The car started down in 5th place on the grid. It's a Pro-Am class runner, and it's leading the race. Shows what a great job Yuki Taniguchi did in the early part of the race. Started, from 6th on the grid, ran 3rd after the early corner sought out, and ended up with Sandy Stuvic's Porsche off in the wall. But now in the hands of the pro driver in the pairing, starting to eke its way clear. 0.4 of a second gained over Nick Foster's Ferrari last time around, and that clock, 14 minutes remaining in this race, and it looks as though Taniguchi is going to be enjoying his day of days, and to do so on home ground in Japan will be truly wonderful for him. But his highest finish so far this season, when partnered by Tsukiyo Matsuda, was 4th position in the second of the 2 races at Chang International at Buriram in Thailand. But right now I can see no likely challengers. Best part of 6 seconds clear last time around. I expect that advantage to go out yet more on this lap. 6.6 seconds now, another 6.5 tenths gained over the Ferrari of Nick Foster. But for John O'Lester, who did the first leg of the race, we heard from him talking to Claire. He thought a podium was possible, maybe even a tilt at the win. Well, that's not proved to be the case, because the sheer pace shown by the driver who set the fastest lap of the race just 3 laps ago by the race leader Alexander Imperatori means it's not going to come to them barring disaster. Who's going to get the 3rd step on the podium? Florian Strauss, we just seen him in the 23 Nissan, but he's got company. Marcin Kodric, championship leader, trying his best to fight back. Last time around it stayed very level between them, just under a second. So Florian Strauss is able to respond, but don't forget they're getting in among the GT4 runners. That's the best of the GT4 runners. Takuya Kinoshita, and he's sitting on a very tidy advantage over the best of the rest, which is the number 11 TTR team Saad Porsche Cayman, very well driven by Brian Lee in the first part of the race, and now his teammate Tony Fong going well, but 42 seconds nearly down, so it's almost in the bag with 12.5 minutes remaining. Not just for the driver of this car, Alex Imperatori, but a GT4 class win looks totally on the cards for the 81 BMW. Takayuki Kinoshita looks like he's going to finish the job started by Sunaka Jukuchu, his teammate. That KCMG Nissan just so well balanced around the circuit with that comfortable advantage. Imperatori knows he doesn't have to push too hard and is taking it easy. It's a circuit he knows very well, raced over in Japan for quite some while. He was an Asian Porsche champion back in 2012. He raced in Japanese Formula 3 2008, 2009, 2010. So plenty of races here at Suzuka, and no wonder the team was so keen to get him on board for the second part of this season. Also a lot of experience racing for the Rebellion team in the World Endurance Championship, so further experience here at the Fuji Speedway in that. Nick Foster doing his all, but he lost another 0.6 of a second on the race leader. Imperatori set the bar very, very high indeed. Nick Foster doing his best to give chase. He's now got Strauss 4 and a bit seconds behind him, but Strauss is busy. Strauss is occupied with Martin Kodrick in the number 19 Lamborghini is on his tail. 0.6 of a second in arrears in fourth place. Look, here is our race leader. No one to be seen around behind him, and not really anyone too close in front of him. He's able to have another handful of just really quick, efficient laps. Doesn't need to take risks. Just over 10 minutes remaining. And just looking for potential problems for anyone else. Car number 63 and 47 have to report to the stewards after the race, or the team managers do, not the cars themselves. Car number 47 is the D-Station Racing Porsche Satoshi Hoshino and Seiji Ara. At the moment that's in 16th position. And car number 63, that's the car we saw retired from the pits, Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Marco Mappelli, the second of the two FFF Racing Team Lamborghinis. That was the one we saw limp in, and it's still sitting in the pit garage. So that's tumbling down to the bottom end of the order. Here is the battle for third place, Florian Strauss and Martin Kodrick. Kodrick getting closer and closer, the driver from Herzegovina. It's 0.68 of a second, it's now 0.652. So when obviously I'm talking in thousandths of a second. Any car in the garage in the pit lane at the moment is a car with a problem. And unfortunately for the 177 Porsche, that is sitting there for Car Guy Racing when they would rather it was out on the circuit. So some mechanical problem there. So that will work its way back down through the field, unfortunately, for Naoki Yokomitsu. Sorry, I beg your pardon, it's the 177 car, that's Daisuke Yamawaki. AMAC Motorsports, staunch supporters of the championship, and they work very hard at the moment, plenty of pressure. Ben Porter, unfortunately, for what's this 777 car, that is out of race. Sorry, that's the Kei Cozzolino car, I thought it was 177, the sister car of Yamawaki. Kei, busy driver this weekend, he's also taking part in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia, but a driver who enjoyed victory here 12 months ago, so wasn't looking likely today. But he won the first of the Fuji races last time around with Yokomizo, the Car Guy Racing. That was a case of a visiting team coming in and are doing very well indeed. The visiting teams, though, they get, with cars that are making their championship debut, they get an extra 7-second success penalty. It's really a late entry penalty, if you will, so it certainly gives them less of a chance, which is why Cozzolino's victory 12 months ago here at Fuji was phenomenal. This time, though, showing with Takeshi Kimura, Cozzolino started down in 22nd position, so victory was never on the cards. 8 seconds is the advantage now for Alexander Imperatori, leading the race. Number 11, second car in GT4. And Tony Fong, though, has nothing that he can do about Kinoshita's number 81 BMW, leading and looking very comfortable indeed. There's Tony Fong. Inside him goes the 177 Lamborghini. Yamawaki's one also in that lurid, bright, day-glow yellow colour scheme. That was the one I thought had retired to the garage, but unfortunately for the crew, it was their better placed car, the 777 Lamborghini Huracan. Number 7 Audi, that's not in the top 10. They'll be a bit frustrated. And that is Adderley Fong. Andrew Kim started the race. Adderley's been picking the odd place here or there. 177 Lamborghini further down the order, 21st position. But here is the battle for third place. Florian Strauss in the blue-nose Nissan tucked in behind it, as he has been for a large number of laps. Martin Kodrick would love to get on the podium, but when you're the championship leader, it's about making sure you score in every round. Talk about excellence. This is the run that Kodrich and Lind have had this season. Opening races at Sepang, 2nd and 6th. Next round, Chang International, 5th and 2nd. Next round at Suzuka, that was last time out, 3rd, and that first win finally coming their way. Oh, and I sense this time using those GT4 runners, 23 is not going to have such an advantage this time. He's just, again, the punch of the NISMO Nissan down the start-finish straight means that Kodrich can't get into his slipstream. Half a second between them. Good flag working from the marshal there, waving their flags. The car we haven't talked about too much, the 999 Mercedes. It went from 9th on the grid up to 4th in the first part of the race, first lap of the race, first quarter of a lap of the race, as of Nico Bastian. After the pit stops, it's in 5th place, but Patrick Niederhauser, he's the driver at the wheel. He's the only driver to have won more than once outright in the championship this year. He's got 3 wins to his name, and he's closing right in on this pairing who are fighting over 3rd place. So Strauss and Kodrich will become Strauss, Kodrich, and there he is in the background with the orange flashes on his Group M Racing Mercedes. Patrick Niederhauser, Swiss driver, is just having such a good season. Winning in GT3, winning in GT4. He did that in one of the Central European GT4 Championship at Most Autodrome earlier this season with his girlfriend, who happens to have the same name, Marilyn Niederhauser. And I asked, is that a regular Swiss surname? And it's not particularly common, but both of them have it. There we are, a little bit of sporting trivia for you. Florian Strauss in the sister car to this one, the number 18 Nissan that's leading the race. Under pressure, he's now starting to pick up his pace. He's just set his fastest middle sector. In fact, in the middle sector of the lap, he gained 1/3 of a second on the chasing Martin Kodrich, trying to buy himself a bit of an advantage through the twisty bits. Another lap on the board for our race leader. 32 laps completed. His advantage this rate will be going out towards 10 seconds. 9.4 seconds the advantage. There is the second place Ferrari. Nobody to play with. So Nick Foster will have to accept he could have had victory but for a mishap in the second race at Suzuka. Here we come to Fuji. New teammate in the form of John O'Lester. Lost a little bit of ground at the start of the race but can have no complaints. Running very well. Got past Florian Strauss as soon as he could after a great bit of battling out of turn 1. And second place is safe for him because you can see the second Nissan, Florian Strauss, another nearly 5 seconds behind. He's got Martin Kodrich touched behind, but suddenly Kodrich has got attention, he's got company, he's got the 999 Mercedes. And that buys a little bit of space for Florian Strauss, just as Kodrich was sitting there looking to try and find an advantage. Got very close a couple of laps ago when the GT4 runners slightly blocked both of them coming out of the final corner, but the punch of the Nissan down the start-finish straight, that's where its advantage comes. Appears to have just given it that little break, and now the Mercedes is coming on very strongly indeed. Great speed down through turn. The long turn in the background there, that was 9 turning into 10, but then running wide and kicking up the dirt on the exit of 10. Oh, Niederhauser's pushing very hard, just too hard there, clipping the dust on the inside at turn 13. Let's shorten the lap, he's thinking. But that little mistake, pushing just too hard, has dropped him off the tail of Martin Kodrich. So does this give Kodrich a chance to try and escape down the start-finish straight and head off after Florian Strauss all over again? But I'd say Strauss has got enough of an advantage. But the gold standard set in qualifying 2, which means pole position for tomorrow's race. Alexander Imperatori leading this race. Weather conditions getting darker rather than lighter, but always a risk of rain, it seems, when you come to the Fuji Speedway. Certainly very cloudy this morning. That seemed to have burnt off, though it may be coming in later. But for now, with only three and a bit minutes remaining till the checkered flag can be waved, it's going to be waved at this driver. Surely, Alexander Imperatori, 10.1 seconds clear of Nick Foster's Ferrari. Florian Strauss is going to make it a Nissan 1-3. What a result. Embarrassing indeed for Toyota, who own this circuit, but they're not out to play. We'd love to have them on board the championship in the years ahead. Certainly the GT3 class is one in which I think it should be one of their natural stamping grounds. But of course they're playing on the top level with their LMP1 cars in the World Endurance Championship. But the fact that this very next weekend, SRO's biggest race of the year, the Spa 24 Hours, has some Lexuses starting to play. That is their representation, but of course it would be lovely to see Toyotas in there as well. And now we've suddenly got a change of position up into second in GT4 right at the end of the race. Gilles Vanelay, problems early in the race in 72 car, but rocketing up the order, moved ahead of Adley Fong there. Sorry, not Adley Fong, Tony Fong, what am I talking about? Here comes the race leader, 2 and a bit minutes on the clock, but we've had that change for second place in GT4, so it's never over until it's over is clearly the motto of the 72 crew. Problem early in the race for Ringo Chong. Gilles Vanderlei picked his way up. Don't forget, they had to go to the back of the grid with the ride height problem, but really driven very, very well indeed. Gilles Vanderlei, the French racer, no chance of catching the 81 BMW that's almost got victory in its grasp. Takayuki Kinoshita, 40-something, 50 seconds between friends, let's call it, of an advantage in the class. And a change coming up, 999. Niederhauser has gone ahead of Martin Kodrich, too deep into turn one. We've seen this time and again, but can he keep the nose of that Mercedes in front? He'll be in the right side when they get to the turn number 4. Through 3 they go on the outside, and he's going to have to brave it out around the outside. Kodrich just came off the throttle a tiny bit. He's gone off the circuit completely. He's about to rejoin. Position is lost. So dusty, and we saw with the number 23 Nissan when it was in that fight with Nick Foster, you get onto the dirt, off the track there, and it's so dusty. Then 2 corners later, he just slid off the circuit, dust all over his slick Pirelli tyres. The grip was gone. So really good run down the start-finish straight for Patrick Niederhauser. So that pressure paid dividends. He spent ages hunting down Strauss and Kodrich, got onto the tail of Kodrich, separated him from Strauss, and hunted him down, made it work. Into the final minute of the race. So this will be going on to the final lap through turn 15, drifting wide, but it's just been so super neat for Alex Imperatori. He really does have this under control. Lights ablaze, 1 more lap for him. He was 10.9 seconds clear last time round. You can see the yellow headlights on the red Ferrari in the background. That's Nick Foster's car, the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari in second place. He'll be more than 10 seconds down, surely. This is the final lap of the race. So nothing Foster, the Australian racer, can do about race leader Alex Imperator. He's got a big cushion. In fact, he's nearly 4 seconds clear of Florian Strauss in the second of the Nissans. The fact he's now got a couple of the GT4 cars in front of him doesn't matter. He's not going to move either way, up to first or back to third. But the driver who is going to have no change, and that's exactly how he'd like it, Alex Imperator. He's sweeping, he's halfway around the lap. There's turn 7, turning towards turn 8 to go beneath the magnificent Circuit Restaurant. Brilliant view from that really fine-looking building. Good infrastructure here at the Fuji Speedway, and makes it look very, very easy indeed. And I haven't really reported on the progress of one driver in particular, Davide Rigon. Last time I looked, he was way outside the top 10. The Ferrari Works driver, get this, up into 8th place. I think he took over in about 20th position, so that's a fantastic drive. But Maurice Chen, his teammate, pitted very, very early indeed to give Davide Rigon as much time as he possibly needed, and as he possibly could have, which is the next closest thing to 35 minutes, and the Italian has really made some great progress, but won't be able to catch the car ahead of him. Alex Young should hold down 7th place, but no doubting the winner of this race. Car number 18, sweeping through, made it look very easy. Good first stint by the AM driver. Don't forget, this is a Pro-Am car. Yuki Taniguchi kicked it off, and Alexander Imperatori, lights ablaze. The Pro really showed he's a massive pro. Wins the race in start, quick lap, even right at the end. Nick Foster takes 2nd place, the 27 Ferrari, and the 23 Nissan comes home in 3rd overall. Florian Strauss at the wheel of that. Lights flashing away in the background. Some very happy drivers. Patrick Niederhauser will be delighted too that he's come through to take that 4th place with a late charge to the 999 Mercedes. 5th place for Martin Kodrich, but don't forget he and his teammate Dennis Lin had 15 seconds extra at a standstill in the pit stop. Really hard to overcome that. And in the GT4 class, there's no doubting it will be the 81 BMW. Here it is, heading to victory. Takayuki Kinoshita, building on the superb work from Tsunaka Jikuchu in the early stage of the race, will be getting on for the best part of a minute clear of the best of the rest, which will be Gilles Vanderlei. In fact, Vanderlei's already taken the flag. He'd be a lap down because of where the overall race winner finished. Top car in AM, haven't really talked about that too much, and it is for the umpteenth time this year, for the 6th time in 7 starts, near to Takeda and Takuya Shirosaka in another, what a day for the KCMG team. They enter the 2 Nissans in the overall class and get 1st and 3rd, and Audi finishes top in the AM class yet again. Second car in Pro-Am was the Davide Rigon car that finished in 8th overall, so the 28 Ferrari making very good progress, as I pointed out. And third going to Indigo Racing with their Mercedes, Rolf Bruins bringing it home behind. But really, it's going to be a slow in-lap, but a delightful in-lap for Alexander Imperatori. Just had it all under control. So very, very ominous, the form. Poles for both race and the first victory in the bag for the KCMG Nissan team. They can be delighted with their activity here. And just to reiterate, in the GT4 class, an easy victory for the 81 BMW M4. To get some dirt on the tyres, I'm not sure if that's intentional, but I think just waving to the fans, keeping out of the way. So, a Pro-Am car takes victory here this year. Hasn't been the first time that's happened. In fact, the opening round, both the races, well, the second race was won by a Pro-Am winner, Miles Bosie and Raffaele Marciello, Group M Racing Mercedes. Group M Racing team have had a lot of driver changes this season, and perhaps that's starting to bite them a little bit. They ended up with the 4th place today for the ever-excellent Patrick Niederhauser, the only driver still to have won 2 races in the 2018 championship. Headlights ablaze, it is, yeah, really getting quite grey here at the Fuji Speedway, but the racing was anything but grey. Down to the first corner the action started, and it carried on all the way through an hour. It's gone by in the flash of an eye. I reckon it feels like half an hour still since the start of the race, but certainly for a couple of teams things are suddenly very, very good indeed. Can't wait to see Yuki Taniguchi's face, because that really was an excellent performance in the early stage of the race. Started 6th, got up into 3rd position and held it for lap after lap after lap. Pitted as early as he could. And then Alexander Imperatori grabbed the wheel of this, the number 18 Nissan, took it out onto the circuit and eventually won. We've got the final winning margin, 13.041 seconds. That is a tidy advantage. But Nick Foster and John O'Lester in 2nd place, they would have loved to take victory today, but carry on. Yet another top result for Nick Foster, so he'll be very, very pleased indeed with that. 27 Ferrari in 2nd place, the number 18 Nissan with the slowest of laps in the pits. The sister car, number 23, alongside. So for KCMG, it's really been a phenomenal first of 2 races here at the Fuji Speedway. Let's see, I sort of have a feeling that when Alex Imperatori gets out of the car, he's probably not even got the decency to look as though that was hard work. Certainly his driving style suggested the car was really, really well placed. Yuki Taniguchi, big smile, trying to get his attention. We'll see what that means. At 81, I think we could be starting to see quite a lot of this, because BMW Team Studi really have put on an excellent performance, and that's their 2nd victory in the GT4 class. They won the opening race last time out at Suzuka, and they've done it again on home ground. And just seeing how happy they've been with taking those wins, I expect more of the same here. Certainly put a huge amount into their racing. Cars beautifully prepared, and I think they really do deserve the accolade. So let's take a look at the results. Victory for Yuki Taniguchi and Alexander Imperatori in reverse order. The drivers who started first, actually, on the right-hand side. John O'Lester and Nick Foster, 2nd place in their Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari. 13 seconds down, but well clear of the 2nd of the KCMG Nissans, Eduardo Liberati and Florian Strauss, who did enough to resist the pressure from behind, with Nico Bastian and Patrick Niederhauser taking 4th place right at the end of the race, ahead of championship leaders Dennis Lint and Martin Kodrick. But with no further ado, let's go down to Parc Fermé, because Claire has gone down there very quickly and she's managed to find the winning duo. That's the KCMG Nissan crew of Yuki Taniguchi and Alexander Imperatori.
Congratulations, guys. They say this is the home of the Nissan, and you guys have just proved that point right there. Fantastic. You're a Pro-Am driver. You started in 6th. What a fantastic drive. Tell us what is going on when you passed on to Alex.
Well, I passed 3 cars at the start, I think. And I thought they were going to come from behind. So I just wanted to keep my pace. But it was a nice clear lap all the time. So I enjoyed.
It's written all over your face as well. Alex, I've got to say, you've been on pace all weekend with the practice. Tell us, what's this moment right now? Is it the first time you guys have been at the top of the grid?
Yeah, it's great. I think we're really enjoying it, especially here in Fuji. So to do it here at home for Nissan is great. The car is performing really well. The team has given us a really good weapon to fight with this weekend. And I have to say, Juke did a great job at the start. I mean, he went already 6th in qualifying, was great. And then he kept his nose clean at the start, past 3 cars, and that really set us up for the good result today. When I saw that we were within 10 seconds the pit stop or thereabout, I knew it was game on, and then I just pushed out of the pits to try to keep our advantage, and then I had to pass our sister car. It was all very clean, but great result, so I'm very happy for the whole team.
Thank you, congratulations, great action, guys.
Well, you can just sense the satisfaction. Their body language just showed that they were super proud with that performance, but they did make it look very easy indeed. And I must say, the acceleration out of the final corner, such an important feature here at the Fuji Speedway, with that long run down to turn 1, most likely place for overtaking. And certainly a lot of people tried their very hardest there. And down to turn 2, we saw quite a lot of place changes, not just on the opening lap, but throughout the race. But let's go back down very shortly to Claire in Parc Fermé, because she's moved across to the second car from KCMG, Eduardo Liberati and Florian Strauss in third.
Okay, also with the Nissan car, we got Strauss and Liberati. Guys, tell us about your drive. Some real bumper-to-bumper action there.
My start was very good. I tried to pull away the more gap as possible because we had 10 seconds of penalty in the pit stop for the Podium in Suzuka. So I tried to push as much as possible. Then I had a fight with the Lambo. We lost a little bit of time there. But then I handed the car over to Florian. With 10 seconds we had in the pit lane, he couldn't do more than that. So I'm pretty happy with the podium.
Yeah, Eduardo did great. He managed to pull out a 10 seconds gap, which maybe make our penalty even not that there anymore. So I came out in P1, but yeah, then early I had to let my teammate go. Had a lot faster pace, unfortunately, today, and then a little bit later also the Ferrari. But after that, I could get our pace back to where we wanted. And yeah, obviously it's great to achieve a podium with the penalty, but obviously we're of course on starting from pole. We're expecting maybe a little bit more, but we have another race tomorrow, and then hopefully we can fight back and get another great result.
Thank you. Wishing you all the best of luck for tomorrow.
So yeah, lots of satisfaction for the KCMG Nissan crew, but a crew that I think will have a lot of pride as well is the crew that finished in second place, because Nick Foster had a new teammate this weekend, John O'Lester coming up to join Nick Foster, and a sort of Tasman pairing, one an Aussie, one a New Zealander. But they had a really good run, fought very hard indeed, and fight as hard as they can. They can't get away from Claire because she's caught them in Parc Fermé.
Hey there, we're with Nick and with Jono. Nick, it looked like you had to dig deep right there. It looked a little bit shifty. What happened just now?
Yeah, it was all right. Jono had a pretty decent run. Fell back. I think he had a touch at the start, which is unlucky. But anyway, had to make a couple of cold tyre moves early on, and then just pace was good, just stayed on it. The Nissan was all over the shop and got a couple of runs on him. He squeezed me off the track and finally got him done. So anyway, second's a good result. We just move on to the next one now.
Thoughts about tomorrow's race?
Yeah, well, we're going to go run Meta tomorrow. Neither of us are ever happy with second, but it's great for the team, and particularly for the championship, obviously, for Nick to take some points out of the Merc and the Lamborghini. That's priority number one, but we do want to win, so look out for us tomorrow. We'll be pushing harder. I'll be doing a better job. I feel like I let the team down a little bit, but Nick came good in the end. So I enjoyed my first race in Blancpain, and it's been a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, boys. Congratulations.
Two observations from that. You can see in the background, once he stopped talking, Nick Foster, who just got out of the car that finished second, was not puffing and panting. He was just coming down. You could see the adrenaline going through him. And for John O'Lester, I think he's beating himself up a bit. I think he was actually wise rather than foolish in the opening corner of the race. He kept out of trouble. And don't forget, from that battle from fourth place on the grid, we suddenly had Sandy Stuvik being speared off the circuit. So it's always difficult at turns 1 and 2. And you can very easily go from hero to zero in the blink of an eye at the Fuji Speedway. So staying out of the way was a wise thing. But it's been quite a race. Why don't we take a look at the highlights of what was an hour packed with action from the very start right through to the end of the race. So it was fast and furious, and eventually it was a 1-3 for the Nissan team. But let's wind it back all the way to the start. A packed grid of cars, a few cars getting out of position as the lights were a long time changing from red to green, but the pole starter, the Nissan, number 23 on the pit wall side, kept his nose in front. On the outside was the red Ferrari of John O'Lester, but showing why he's the championship leader, Dennis Lind dived down, took third place into second in his black and green Lamborghini. The dust kicked up in the background show just how hard people were pushing, and unfortunately already out of the race in the wall on the outside of turn 2 was Sandy Stuvic's Craft Bamboo Racing Porsche. But look how quickly the first two cars made their break. Really good run from Yuki Taniguchi, an AM driver holding down third place. Surely one thought the cars behind would be able to pull through and overtake, but Nico Bastian in fourth place in the 999. Mercedes had his hands very full indeed. The 81 BMW went into the lead immediately in the GT4 class and pulled ever further clear. Brilliant start by Sunako Takuchi. And here we had some moves, 19 and 23 fighting so hard over position. It looked as though it was going very well indeed for Dennis Lind, but the pressure was on. He moved to the front of the race. Then 23 dived for the pits, and that was the car that started from pole in the hands of Eduardo Liberati. He would hand over as soon as he could to Florian Strauss. There's the German racer coming in to take over. 19 stayed out a long time, then eventually Dennis Lind handed it over to Martin Kodrich. A Hub Auto course, number 27 Ferrari, John O'Lester in, and then Nick Foster running out to take it over. 1 hour race, midpoint in the race, this is when the pit stops come. There's Martin Kodrich running out, down the start, finish straight, tucked in behind Nick Foster in the 27 Ferrari. Florian Strauss on the inside, but as happens so often, diving just that little bit too deep, running wide into turn 1 and in turn 2. Move came. Now look, I think we might have a little bit of body rubbing. Oh yes, we most certainly did. And a few corners later we saw the Nissan running off the circuit. I guess at the time it might have been a flat tyre from contact, but I think it was simply running wide, getting dirt on the tyres, just having no grip at all at turn 4. But back on the track, fortunately with no puncture at all. And for the teams in the garages, more nervous moments. But in the closing stages of the race, ever further clear, Alexander Imperatori in the number 18 car, a Pro-Am runner, building on the excellent work of Yuki Taniguchi, heading off to victory. There was nothing Nick Foster could do. He nailed down second place. Third place was going the way of Florian Strauss. Great battling in behind Martin Kodrich under increasing pressure from the 999 Mercedes that told, and eventually this is the move that was completed through the course of 3 corners when the 19 car went off at turn 4, bounced over the curbs, had no grip, and up into fourth place went Patrick Niederhauser. He was to go no further up the order, eventually finishing right on the tail of Florian Strauss, who backed off on the final lap. But victory, and an easy victory, 13 seconds clear for our race leader, Alexander Imperatori, in the background with his lights blazing away. The red Ferrari from Hub Auto Corsa, Nick Foster nailing that second place, more useful championship points for him, and it was a 1-3 for Nissan. GT4, there was never any question about who it was going to be. It was going to be the 81 BMW M4 from Team Studio, 23rd overall. Kinoshita bringing it home to the applause from the team. And here was the happy face of Alexander Imperatori, not under any pressure in the later stages of the race. That car will be a Nissan pole for tomorrow's race as well. Imperatori will kick that off from pole, so it's looking very, very good for the number 18 Nissan crew from KCMG. Fuji Speedway certainly suits their style. Now we wait for the podium ceremony. People lining up beneath the teams, looking up, friends, drivers, family.
Welcome to the podium ceremony of race 1, Blancpain GT Series.
We have 4 podiums, and the first is for the overall finishers, coming out in the order 3, 2, 1. So you should see 4 drivers in KCMG overalls. Eduardo Liberati and Florian Strauss should be the first drivers out. We heard them interviewed by Claire down in Parc Fermé. There they are, Liberati out first and Strauss on the right-hand side. I think that might not be the last of the Pirelli caps they have, the podium caps. John O'Lester and Nick Foster in second place, but certainly just wait to see how big Yuki Taniguchi's smile is as they come up.
And now we are glad to invite Ken Gokita, Motorsport Manager, Pirelli Tires, to award the trophies.
So the trophies being presented. Ken Gokita, Motorsport Manager for Pirelli Tires, here on home ground, and he'll be delighted to have a Japanese driver up on the top step, local driver in Yuki Taniguchi.
Second place trophies also presented by Ken Gukita. And as we can see, the different overalls, the black overalls of Hub Auto Corsa. Jono Foster on the right, Jono Lester on the right, Foster on the left.
SRO to award the checks.
And checks come as well. Series director from SRO, Benjamin Franisovici, will present those. Dollars. What about? No, they'd like the bigger check. Second place gets $5,000. Nick Foster's been around too long to accept just the mere $2,500. These drivers, always an eye on the big spend. And the winner's check, $10,000. See, it shows experience pays. So, a nice bonus for the teams. KCMG, that's $12,500 for their enterprise here. But Nick Foster making sure that Hub Auto Corsa took the check for second place. No wonder there are smiles all round. But driver of the race? Well, Alexander Imperatori was fantastic. I think Yuki Taniguchi deserves considerable applause for his drive. An AM driver, yes, he knows the circuit, but he kept a whole host of pro drivers behind him to run third in that opening stint of the race. Quick on the track, a bit slow with the bubbly though, it must be said, so he gets a spraying down. 3 more podiums to follow, but you can safely say those are 6 very, very happy faces up there, and you can be sure the KCMG mechanics and engineers down below will be very, very proud. You can see a lot of them up by the pit wall applauding their drivers. Jono Lester appears blinded temporarily. Actually, when you've got eyes that are maybe a little bit sweaty after racing and you get a face full of champagne, it really smarts for a while. But hey, that's the price of success. See. The next podium ceremony will be the Pro-Am podium, and that will include our race winners coming back out because they were the top finishers in the Pro-Am class. That's really quite a record, and to do that with a victory margin of 13 seconds just shows the pace that KCMG have found with their Nissan here on home ground. They showed signs of it at Buriram for the second round of the championship, even more signs last time out at Suzuka. Here at Fuji, they really look in a class of their own. But don't forget, for tomorrow's race, the driver who started first today will start second tomorrow and vice versa. And that could have a real change in the outcome of the event. Plus, of course, those success penalties for the top 3 finishers will make it harder and harder for them to take overall victory. So if you take them away and look at the team that finished in 4th place, maybe they've got a tilt for tomorrow's victory.
We welcome with applause in 3rd position, car number 97, Ju-Won Seo and Roland Bruins. In 2nd position, in car number 28, Maurice Chen and Davide Rigon. And in 1st position, car number 18, Yuki Taniguchi and Alexandre Imperatori.
Well, the biggest cheer out there was actually when Maurice Chen came out. He'll be very, very pleased with that second place in class. What a teammate, Davide Rigon, to bring on board.
To invite Masahiko IDA CEO of Dixon to award the trophies.
So just to reiterate what Claire said, making the announcements, that's Masahiko Ida, CEO of Dixel, who will be giving the 3rd place trophies and the 2nd place and the winners' trophies up here. So nice, quick fire podium ceremonies. Maurice Chen on the left of the podium in the black overalls, and Davide Rigon. That was a real charge. Davide starts the race tomorrow, and don't forget, because he qualified for that, the car will start much further up the grid. And that filed its way forward from 21st overall to 8th. So look for some fireworks from the yellow Ferrari in tomorrow's race. But up on the top step, victory in the race. Clear victory by 7 positions in the Pro-Am class to Yuki Taniguchi and Alexander Imperatori. And of course, the clock to the top AM driver. He's also a race winner. What a day here for Yuki Taniguchi. That was Benjamin Franisovici, series director from SRO. So it's going to be a new trophy cabinet required in the Taniguchi household.
And right now it's champagne time!
It's always a disadvantage if you've got 2 trophies to hold. That means you have to put 2 trophies down, and therefore you'll be slow on the unleashing of the fizz. But lots of applause for the drivers up there. That's the Pro-Am finishers. Overall finishing first
8th in the form of the second place crew and 11th in the forms of the Indigo Racing duo on the right hand side, Juan Seo and Rolf Bruins. For a lot of the teams, of course, already, as they look at their cars back in Parc Fermé, and those that are already they're focusing on what will happen in tomorrow's race. And tomorrow's race is started at a much earlier time of 1:05. So track conditions could be different. It's worth reiterating at Fuji Speedway they could be different from morning to afternoon, hour to hour even, particularly if you watch the races later in the season, like the round of the World Endurance Championship, where the weather gets talked about an awful lot, depending how much mountain you can see up and above this circuit. Sometimes you can see nothing even below the circuit as it sits on the side of Mount Fuji, because the clouds can be all enveloping. Always a point of considerable interest and concern. But now we've got the podium for the AM runners. And there's Mount Fuji, trust me, up on the top right.
In second position, in car number 51, Andrew McPherson and William Ben Porter. And in first position, car number 45, Naoto Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka.
So this duo from KCMG in their Audi R8 LMS, they have had just such an amazing series. So many wins in the AM class. In fact, they've only been beaten once. That was the last time out, the second of the two races at Suzuka. But as the trophies are presented to them, they know what to do up on the podium. It's been really just a fantastic series for them. Yes, they're used to celebrating, but celebrating at home is something that clearly really entertains. The duo from the 45 Audi, Naoto Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka, really enjoying their time up on the top step of the podium yet again. But to them it's worth double when you do it on home ground. And for Ken Sito, new on board this weekend, he's now tasting success straight out, having joined Tomatsu Kondo in the Success Racing Lamborghini. So straight to the bottles they go. Andrew McPherson giving an extra shake to his to get a bit more fizz when he does uncork it. Ben Porter firing away, but the slickest crew on the track and on the podium, the ones in those natty white and purple striped overalls on the top step, winning yet again for KCMG in the AM class of GT3. Which leaves us one more podium to come, and this one I think will have a huge amount of cheer to it because it's a GT4 victory on home ground. But let's just go through the podium again. It's KCMG 1-3 with Alexander Imperatori building on the brilliant work of Yuki Taniguchi to win, but also to do so as a Pro-Am pairing. The sister car, Eduardo Liberati and Florian Strauss, started on pole. They had to make do with third places. John O'Lester and Nick Foster came home in second overall. Now looking a bit further down, Craft Bamboo Racing had to just make do with a 14th place after all the form they showed last time out, because one of their cars was knocked out at the opening corner, having started from fourth on the grid, so very bad luck for Sandy Stuvik. But look, the 888 Mercedes, a car that's won this year, Marcello and Matchell down in 18th place. That's not where you expect to find them, but 17th place. But Marcello will start tomorrow. He's right at the front end of the grid. Top car in GT4 really went well today, because as worth pointing out, 23rd overall from a 33 car field. The record field so far in this, the second series of Blancpain GT Series Asia. Plenty more to come. One more race. Dial back in tomorrow. Action is guaranteed. So here is the GT4 podium, and more delight for BMW Team Studi.